Hey there, it's Latrina with Plant Food Rocks, where we promote the benefits of a plant-based diet because plant food has been proven to reduce the onset of cancer and kill sickness. That's why I always say plant food rocks. And today I'm back in the kitchen and I want to share with you a new recipe that I'm trying and something I wanted to do for a very long time. It is meatloaf, but it's vegan meatloaf made with lentils. Lentils are so flexible. You can do so much with them. And today we are going to use them to make a classic meatloaf. So let's get to it. Let's take a look at the ingredients that we need. You probably have most of these in your pantry anyway. The list is a little long, but they're very simple. So I'll just show you what it is that we need to get started. So first of all, we obviously need our lentils, and I made mine from the Instant Pot, but to be quicker, you could actually buy some in the can. But if you do decide to make your own, make sure that you use the green ones or the brown ones instead of the red ones. So we have our lentils that I've already pulled out of the Instant Pot. We have some walnuts that we're going to use for texture. We have some oatmeal that's going to go inside the processor to mix it all up and get it thick. I'm using portobello mushrooms they have a meaty texture and a meaty taste to them. So instead of celery, which I'm out of, I decided to substitute for some portobello mushrooms because I've actually seen some recipes using that for lentil meatloaf. We're going to have a half of chopped up yellow onion. We have carrots. I just chopped up some mini carrots. The recipe calls for 1 full carrot chopped up. We also have some flax seeds. I'll show you how we're going to use that later. And then for our topping that's going to go over the lentil loaf when it's ready, it's going to be some salt and pepper, some coconut aminos, some balsamic vinegar, and we'll also use some seasonings, some cayenne. We also have the tomato paste. So these are the ingredients that we need for our lentil loaf. So I've added my vegetables to about a tablespoon of olive oil. We'll get these sauteed up. We'll let these cook for maybe about 7 or 8 minutes to get them sauteed, and then we will add them to our other ingredients to start making up our mix. It's time to start mixing our ingredients together. So I have the sauteed veggies, 1.5 cups of the lentils. This is the flaxseed, and we want to use this as a binder. So that's 2 tablespoons of the flaxseed. I may have to do it's a cup, but this food processor is smaller. So I'm just going to probably mix up part of the ingredients in here because I don't know that it's big enough. Walnuts, that's half a cup of walnuts. 2 cloves of garlic, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Same for cayenne. I love heat, so that'll be good to add. And just a little black pepper. I'm gonna mix this together. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is start trying to assemble this together to make it a meatloaf. And I don't have a loaf pan, but this is the closest thing that I could find. So I'm gonna put a little parchment paper in here. Well, first thing I'm gonna do is spray this on the pan so that when I put my parchment paper in here, this is gonna make it easier to take this out once it is cooked. So the texture on this should not be too smooth. It should be, it should have texture to it. So that's why I didn't really just chop it up too much to make it too ground up. So I'm just going to give this a little shape. Make it a little smaller. So I have my loaf looking more loafy. So I will place this in the oven at 375 degrees and let it cook for 30 to 35 minutes. Okay, I'm about to start making the glaze, but before I do, I realized I forgot to show you one other ingredient that goes into the mixture for your loaf, and that is the coconut aminos. I neglected to show that on camera, but I did put 2 tablespoons of coconut aminos into the mixture before I put it in the oven, and that really did help to soften it up a little bit more because it was supposed to have texture, but realized it was really dry looking, and I realized I forgot to put in the coconut amino. So that will make a difference in the moisture of the mixture. So let's get to making this simple glaze that we're gonna put on top of the loaf once it comes out of the oven. So it takes 2 tablespoons of tomato paste here, 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. The recipe calls for maple syrup, and I'm really low on my syrup, but I have some keto syrup that I usually use when I want some pancakes, and it has maple flavor and way less sugar. So it's 2 tablespoons of that. I have a little less than 2 tablespoons left of this, but because of the sweetness of this, it tastes sweet, but it doesn't have a lot of sugar in it. It should be fine. Just add 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. This is fresh sea salt that I got from the farmer's market, so it doesn't take a lot of this at all. And then we just mix it all together. And once our loaf comes out of the oven, this is what we'll top it with. So I've just taken the lentil loaf out of the oven, and now it's time to top it with our glaze. So before we get to the glazing of the lentil loaf, I did show you a simple glaze recipe that just had the maple syrup, which I substituted for a keto syrup that I have in the refrigerator, and balsamic, and teaspoon of salt, and tomato paste. And honestly, once I tasted that, I realized that the maple syrup substitute was not the best thing. And so I modified it, because typically if I make a meatloaf or a vegan loaf, I don't even really use a tomato based type of topping, because I'm not really big on ketchup, or even though this isn't ketchup, but growing up as a kid, my mom used ketchup. But I've always used barbecue sauce if I make any type of loaf like this. So what I did was I decided to salvage this glaze that I made, and I just added my favorite barbecue sauce, which is this Carolina Gold. It's actually my favorite. I use it for a lot with my different types of tofu things that I make sometimes. And so I added that in here. So as a caveat to this recipe, because this is a recipe that I'm following that I saw online, and I'm just kind of making some modifications. I tried to do it as it outlined it in the recipe, but I made a couple of substitutes for my own personal preferences. And of course, with any recipe, that's what we do, right? So what I would recommend is, whether you want to use this glaze or not, use whatever topping you like on your traditional meatloaf. And for me, that would be barbecue sauce. So I added some barbecue sauce, and it totally elevated this glaze. And so it gives it that tomato paste color, like a traditional meatloaf, but actually it has the full taste of like my favorite barbecue sauce. So you can use whatever topping you prefer, but I just wanted to have full transparency and let you know that I did change this, because my keto substitute for maple syrup just totally messed up the flavor, but that barbecue sauce salvaged it. So just wanted to make that little note for you so you can make a choice that works for you. Adding the glaze, more like a tomato paste and a glaze. Now that I've moved it back to the casserole dish, it looks really good. And I'm just hoping it tastes as good as it looks. So it's time for the taste test, but I want you to get a good look at how delicious this looks. Look how good this looks. And what gets me is at how moist it actually looks on the inside, because I wasn't expecting that because of just how it looked when I was using it in the processor or mixing it up in the processor. I was expecting it to be a little more dry looking and a little more dry tasting. I was a little nervous, which is why I don't demonstrate on recipes I haven't tried yet. And I did that this time. So I made an exception this time because I really wanted to get this done. So I am doing it like right along. I'm learning as I go and I haven't tested it, so that's why I was a little nervous, but I think it may have paid off. So let me take a taste here of it. I will say it's more moist than I thought it would be, and it tastes even better when you get the full bite with the walnuts in there. It gives you more of that crunch, and I think the mushrooms too, because I substituted mushrooms in this recipe instead of celery, just because I didn't have any celery, and I like mushrooms. So I think the mushrooms are helping to give it more of that texture and that consistency where it's holding up. But it's really good. I will do it again, and I'll do it a little bit differently the next time I do it. But it's a good bite. It's a good bite. It's soft and smooth on the inside. I may add a little more of the coconut aminos just to give it a little more moisture inside. But overall, it's good. And it's not meant to taste like meat, okay? So I don't want you to think that I'm trying to make it taste like meat, but it's a different alternative, because honestly, if I wanted to taste more like meat, then I would make it like I've made it in the past, which is using like Beyond Meat, the ground Beyond Meat to make the meat out of the meatloaf, which honestly is delicious. Like I used to make it like that, and it's really, really, really good. But just because I'm in a season right now where I'm trying to do less processed stuff, minimally processed dishes, I chose not to do it that way, and to instead try this lentil loaf, just to show you that there are a lot of things that you can do with lentils. It's a very flexible ingredient, and it's really good depending on how you use it. So just another way to use lentils. Lentils have a lot of fiber and they have carbs, but it also has protein. And because of the carbs, I decided I didn't want to make the lentils and the mashed potatoes or the sweet potatoes, and I just stuck with the broccolini, which I love broccoli. So it's a healthy meal. It's got some decent amount of protein and some healthy carbs. So hopefully you'll give it a try and let me know what you think. But I think it's a win, and I'm going to do it again and just try a little bit differently with some other ingredients. But I think that this is a win. For a first time, I'm good with it, and I hope you'll give it a try. Until next time, bon appetit and rock on.